The 13-inch MacBook Pro is a very important laptop in the overall Mac lineup. In fact, I think it sits at the heart of what Apple has always tried to do, or at least how it brands itself as what it's trying to do. And it's not as a device for creative professionals. It has products for those, like the 16-inch MacBook Pro. But this one specifically, their most popular laptop, is for the amateurs, the hobbyists, the aspiring creative professionals. So throughout this review, keep that in mind, because I'm gonna see if this laptop actually lives up to what it's trying to do, and if it's actually a good tool or not for those people. Let's start with the design, because more than anything else, the MacBook Pro wants to make you feel something. It wants to make you feel like you're using a powerful device that can enable you to do the creative things that you want to do. And there are still a few ways in which this current MacBook Pro does those things better than any other laptop. And that's saying something, because this is a chassis that's over 4 years old at this point. But things like the build quality and the materials used here, this unibody aluminum chassis that's been in use for a while now, it's still the most premium laptop you can buy. It still feels the most premium when you hold it in your hands, when you put it on your lap, when you're using it. That cold aluminum structure just feels really good to hold. I'm also not gonna complain about the size of this thing, because even though it's not the thinnest laptop in the world anymore, it still really feels like a slim laptop. Even next to the XPS 13, which is technically thinner, because of the way it's designed with that really thin lid and just that unibody structure, it kind of seems like a slimmer laptop even though it isn't. And look, a lot of laptops have tried to replicate what Apple did with this design over the past 4 or 5 years. And even again, like, this is an old design, none of them have really replicated in the way that matches what Apple has done here. A couple other examples of where the MacBook Pro kind of still sits above a lot of the other laptops out there. The trackpad, which is really large and just really, really responsive. Like, I don't know if it's a mixture between the hardware and the software, but there's really not a trackpad that's better than this MacBook Pro combined with macOS that just makes you feel like your cursor and your finger moving. It's all one fluid motion. And the gesture support here is fantastic, obviously, as macOS is known for. And then there's the speakers, which you just cannot find a laptop with speakers quite like this. And you're gonna have to do the comparison yourself. Sit this laptop next to the XPS 13 or really any other premium laptop out there, at least in the 13-inch space, and it's really in a completely different league. There's just so much more bass there, more full-bodied sound. Listening to music on this thing is actually really enjoyable, and so is watching movies on it. And in case you're wondering, it is slightly better than the MacBook Air speakers. That model was updated pretty recently, but this one just has a little more bass and it's a little more full-figured in the sound profile that it has. But again, because it's been years since Apple has really refreshed the look of this, there are definitely some areas where it feels a little long in the tooth. And I mean, the most obvious one are the bezels. And I'm not gonna talk about this endlessly because I feel like I talk about it with pretty much every MacBook that has come out recently, but these things are just not fit for 2020. You can tell that this laptop was not designed in 2020 or even in 2019 because it wouldn't have bezels like this. And really, it's more than just an aesthetic thing. It's not just that small bezels look better. It's really a matter of efficiency. It's just a waste of space. When you think about how much you can do with a thin bezel design, you can either increase the size of the screen or you can decrease the overall footprint of the laptop. Both things are great options. And when you look at the 16-inch MacBook Pro, that's exactly what Apple did. They reduced the size of the bezels and added more screen. And if you're a creative professional, if you're using creative applications, more screen space is always good. I'll once again point to the leader in this space, the Dell XPS 13, but it's not just that one. Pretty much every other premium laptop out there, the Spectre X360, for example, these are laptops that have really thin bezels and really efficient designs. If you believe the rumors, a 14-inch MacBook Pro is on the way, and it's said to take some of those design inspirations from the 16-inch MacBook Pro. Bigger screen, thinner bezels. So it looks like you're gonna have to wait a lot longer for that. It's probably not gonna be a 2020 release, probably 2021. So in the meantime, this is kind of what we're stuck with for the next year. I'm also gonna throw the display in this section because even though this is still a really high resolution, great display with great color gamut, great color accuracy, high contrast, really bright, all those great things, it just doesn't have the same lead as it used to have over those premium Windows 10 machines. That is, at least not on the high end, because at $1299, you're getting the most high resolution screen you can get for that price. But at $2,000 or in that area, you're probably better off getting a 4K option from Dell or HP. In fact, if you look at that Spectre X360, it even comes with an OLED option for this 13-inch laptop that's 4K, has better color gamut than the MacBook Pro, and it also has the benefit of OLED, which is those really crazy deep black and the crazy high contrast. All of that, and it's $500 cheaper than this MacBook Pro when you compare it spec for spec and actually configure it the same way. But let's get to the actual change that's happening with this model, because none of that is new. What's new here is the Magic Keyboard, which replaces the old butterfly style keyboard. And again, I'm not gonna get too far into this because technically we've already seen this keyboard on the MacBook Air and the 16-inch MacBook Pro. And suffice to say, it's an excellent keyboard to type on. And it really is worth pointing out because I can count on one hand how many times Apple has actually reversed a design or engineering decision really publicly like this one. I mean, this is a conventional keyboard. And if you go back to that 2015 MacBook Pro, there are some slight tweaks that Apple has made since then that actually improve the experience. For example, the keycaps. If you remember that old laptop, the keycaps were just a little wobbly, if you remember that experience of typing on it. And here they've kind of made the whole thing just a little more stable, and each of the key presses feel a little clickier, and it just has a really satisfying typing experience this time around. So kudos to you, Apple, for realizing that you may have gone down the wrong path with the keyboard and actually fixing it and making it better this time around. Now, I don't think that butterfly keyboard was the last time that we're gonna see some wild experimentation on the keyboard from Apple. I think there's some interesting stuff being worked on that's, for down the road. What we get for now is a very conventional, but very comfortable, and more importantly than anything else, quiet typing experience. Of course, aside from the keyboard, there is some big changes under the hood, and this is where we have to really dig into the configurations and the processor options because Apple has made this very, very confusing. The unit I have here starts at $1799, and really this is the laptop that you'd expect to see from Apple in an annual laptop update cycle. It comes with Intel's latest 10th gen processors, it comes with faster RAM, more storage, a lot of those quality of life and really life extension updates that you get every year from pretty much every laptop manufacturer. There is one glimmer of hope in this configuration mess that Apple's created, and that's with storage, because the base $1299 model now comes with 256 gigabytes of SSD storage. It's kind of become the norm lately, but before, just a couple weeks ago, it was selling MacBook Pros at that base model with just 128 gigabytes of storage, which is really lame. So I'm glad to see them update that to match what they have with the MacBook Air. And my configuration here, the $1799 model, comes with 512 gigabytes, and you can go up from there. I'm gonna get to the performance of this particular machine in a second, but I have to cover some of these entry-level configurations because I am really not happy with the way Apple has set this up. Basically, what you are getting for $1299 is Intel's 8th gen processors, which is only a year behind. Don't get confused, there's no 9th gen in this particular processor category, but 8th gen processors and slower memory. That might not sound like a huge trade-off to you when you consider the price difference, but really that is completely outside of what the entire industry does. No other laptop manufacturer is gonna update a laptop with old processors for the same price. And really, this is not even something that Apple typically does. I mean, can you imagine if they released a new iPhone with an old processor in it? In fact, Apple's doing the exact opposite of that. They're releasing old phones with new processors in it, and that actually makes a lot more sense. Like, good luck trying to parse out whether or not you should get an 8th gen Core i7 or a 10th gen Core i5, and which gives you a better performance per dollar amount. Like, who knows, right? You're gonna have to look at every single laptop and every configuration in order to figure that out. What I can tell you though, is that this $1799 configuration with the 10th gen Intel processors is a really solid performing laptop for this size. In fact, it's the fastest 13-inch laptop in terms of actual real life performance that I've ever tested. Just a few weeks ago, Dell launched its XPS 13 and updated it for 2020. And when I tested that thing out, I quickly proclaimed it as the fastest 13-inch laptop you could buy. I was really impressed by the performance you could get on it. But now this 13-inch MacBook Pro had just slightly edges it out in real life performance tests where that processor is really pushed. And the reason Apple can do that, because like in the past with other 13-inch MacBook Pros, they use a custom 25-watt processor from Intel. It's not a processor you can get really anywhere else. Of course, it's based on the same chip that's in, the XPS 13 and other 13-inch laptops. But because of that higher wattage, Apple is able to push it a little more and get some extra processor strength out of it. And that does result in slightly better performance in real life tests, in real applications than other laptops, even the XPS 13. Like if you're gonna try and do creative applications and those kinds of workflows on a 13-inch laptop, the MacBook Pro really is the best one for that. And really this comes back to the heart of what this laptop is for. It is for those aspiring creative professionals, people who won't necessarily mind that their render in Premiere takes twice as long as it would on the 16-inch MacBook Pro, or people that don't mind that there's gonna be some stuttering if they're running Logic and running a bunch of plugins and whatnot in their music production. And really the types of people we're talking about are those that are not gonna spend $2,400 on a 16-inch MacBook Pro, or even more if they wanna get up to that 8-core version. And because these people are not in these creative applications all day, their livelihood does not depend on how fast they get through a video render, they're not gonna mind having to wait a little longer to get through them. Again, it's a tricky thing to navigate because Apple doesn't want you to know that they are marketing this towards those types of people. They want you to think that this is a professional grade laptop with all the performance you need to kind of get through those creative applications, but the truth is it's really not. But if you are, let's say a YouTuber who's doing that on the side, or maybe you do some freelance graphic design or photography or music production or something like that, this is still one of the better options in terms of a 13-inch laptop. But if you're on the other side of the spectrum and your daily workflow looks more like Google Chrome, web apps, Spotify, Netflix, YouTube, that sort of thing, I would recommend taking a look at the MacBook Air because that's probably gonna give you enough performance for what you need, and it's gonna save you a few $100s too. And if you really do need that extra performance, you can jump up to the 16-inch MacBook Pro, which is crazy expensive and it's quite a bit bigger than this laptop, but it does have that performance if you really need it. And this 13-inch MacBook Pro, specifically the $1,799 model that I have here, falls somewhere in between, and it is the sweet spot for Apple in terms of selling units and marketing. But whether or not it's the right sweet spot for you as a laptop buyer, that's a little less clear, because although this is a good option, it's certainly not the only option out there for people who want to do some of that content creation on the side. The XPS 13 is one I point to a lot, but it really is almost as powerful as this one, but it has the benefit of better battery life, more display options so you can choose which ones you want. And I really love the look and design of that XPS 13. It's also a new crop of AMD Ryzen 4000 powered laptops that are coming out that bring 8-core performance to 13 and 14-inch sizes. Really, really interesting stuff happening there and kind of changing this whole dynamic of how much performance we can expect from these small laptops. But that hasn't really come to fruition yet, and we're still waiting for some of those more premium designs to come out. Beyond just the feeling that this laptop tries to give you, Apple has squeezed just enough extra performance out of this laptop this time around to call itself a MacBook Pro. And I think for a lot of people, combined with that redesigned keyboard, that's gonna be just about enough.